Yeah. So in this video we are going to solve some questions from the university previous years on gymnosperms and pteridophytes, and I think some bryophyte will also be there. So let's start. First question is, a unique feature of Netum is. They have written a wrong spelling of Netum over here. Okay, so the options are nucleus or nuclei of some nucellar cells function as eggs. As we know that it is true that in Netum there is no specialized megaspore mother cell which goes and forms the egg. The nuclear cells only undergoes division, and some of them function as eggs. So this point is partially correct. Then Archegonia remain in a group which is surrounded by a common jacket. An interesting factor about Netum is, which is also a unique character, that Archegonia is not present in Netum. So this point is wrong. And third point, that is two distinct Archegonia present, will also be wrong then, because they don't have Archegonia. And the last point, they says that no distinct Archegonia are present and some free nuclei of the female gametophyte function as eggs. This is perfect. So the unique factor of Netum, which is also mentioned over here, that the Archegonia is not present. And then second point, that some free nuclei that nucellar cells, they continuously undergo division, and some of them just function as eggs in the later stages. So option D will be the correct one. Next question, the cortex of coralloid roots in cycas consists of what? Okay, so algal zone, which is inhabited by nostoc and avena. B, fungal zone inhabited by mycorrhiza. C, distinct scleroid zone having cells filled with calcium oxalate crystals. And D, bacterial zone, which is inhabited by rhizobium. Well, bacterial zones, coralloid roots and cycas are very specialized, and they are inhabited by the algal zone. That is, they consist of cyanobacteria, and the cycas gives some nutrition to the cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria fixes nitrogen for cycas, because cycas, for its life cycle, they need the nitrogen, but they cannot produce they do not get that much of nitrogen on its own. They can also not fix nitrogen. So if cyanobacteria is not there, cycas will not be able to complete its life cycle and reproduce and go further. So it's very important for cycas to have algal zone. So that actually, this algal zone in the roots of cycas form a coralloid structure. It's a star-shaped structure, coral-like structure, okay, and which is very prominent and can be seen. But the fungal zones, these are actually mycorrhiza situations which are found in Pinus. Yeah, so our option is A, the correct one. Next is the main plant bodies in bryophytes and pteridophytes are, this one was easy. It can be gametophyte in both, which is wrong, because pteridophytes are slightly complex and advanced, and we know that they have sporophytic bodies. The sporophyte is the dominant generation, and gametophyte they have, which is dependent on the sporophyte. So gametophytic, it will be the answer, the option number C, gametophytic in bryophytes, which are the haploid and independent phase, and sporophytic in pteridophytes, which are the dominant phase. Right, dominant and independent. Okay, so option number C is the correct one. Next question, the spores of Equisetum are unique in the sense that elaters remain attached to the spore surface and help in seed dispersal, or next is microspores and megaspores remain together in the same sporangium. That means that you are differentiating the spores into microspore and megaspore, and they are forming the same sporangium. This is wrong, because the sporangium of Equisetum are homosporous. So those homospores, they will germinate and grow into gametophyte, which will bear the archegonia and the antheridia. So it is wrong that microspores and megaspores are formed. Next is spores are not viable and never germinate. It is not true at all, because they reproduce by spores only. Next is spores are necked and never enclosed in sporangium. Again wrong, because Equisetum have prominent sporangiums. The whisk ferns we see, they have prominent good sporangium structure, which we know. So it's not true that they are not enclosed in sporangium. So the answer is number A, because the elaters are some specialized structures which are wrapped around, they're present in the spores, around the spores. They help in spore dispersal, because they will like walk. It's a very unique character of Equisetum, is that the spores can walk and then burst and spread around. So where elaters are very useful, so our answer will be number A. Next is the question: trilocular synangium having fused sporangia, each subtended by a bifid leaf, is found in A. Marsilia, B. Selaginella, C. Xylotum, and D. Pteris. We know that a trilocular synangium is a very prominent and specific character of Xylotum, very unique and ancient pteridophyte. So our answer is number C. This was an easy one. Okay, so here is a question which says, which one of the following statements is true regarding the sporocarp of Marsilia? Yeah. So is it a hook-like structure at the base of the leaves that produce mucilage to repel the insect? In this diagram also we will see a Marsilia species where the sporophyte is showing the sporocarp, the rhizome, and some leaflets and some roots are also seen. So here we can see the sporocarp. It is true that they are present at the base of the leaflets, but it is not something which will produce mucilage and repel the insect. So we will just go to the next option. Is it homosporous? No. Specifically, Marsilia species are heterosporous, and yeah, so that is wrong. Next is, it's a globular nut-like structure which encloses the microsporangia and the megasporangia. It is true. And it is meant for sexual reproduction? No. Sporangia of Marsilia are basically born in the special type of spore producing organs. Those are called the sporocarps, and the sporocarps, they are laterally present and on the short and the lateral branches of the petiole of the leaves, which are near the base or just a little higher up, which we can see over here. So these spore bearing structures are only called sporocarps, and they bear the microsporangia or the megasporangia. So number C will be the correct option. Next question: which of the following features indicate the incidence of seed habit in pteridophytes? Let's go with the options. A. Retention of the female gametophyte within the sporangium till the formation of embryo. B. Retention of the germinating microspores and release of sperms within the sporangia. C. Presence of male and female gametangia on separate gametophytes. This is not a particular factor for basically we are talking about seed habit. No, so seed habit is an advanced character which is present in pteridophytes. Not present in pteridophytes, but it is like advanced factor which grows from pteridophytes, then gymnosperm, and then angiosperms. They have the seed habit. So what character of pteridophyte is just indicates that it is going towards the seed habit, not that male and female gametangia are separate gametophytes, because even bryophytes have that. Next is presence of male and female gametangia on the same gametophyte. So again, the location of the gametangia is not an important factor. And number B, retention of germinating microscopes inside within the sporangium. Sporangium is not found in advanced species. So again, that is not the advanced character. We are focusing on the advanced character, that is the female gametophyte is retained within the sporangium, but till the formation of the embryo, and the microspores are the one, male gametes are the one which come and travel and come towards the female gametophyte. So our answer will be option number A. Next question, which one of the following is not correct? In the stem of Selaginella, stele is suspended in the center by means of endodermal trabeculae. It's a very unique character of Selaginella, so this one is correct. Next is, in Equisetum, the spores are spirally wrapped with letters. So again, in Equisetum, spore dispersal is very unique, and that is because elatters wrap around them very tightly and help in dispersal. C. In Pteris, the sporangia, which occurs in bean-shaped reproductive bodies, are called sporocarps. This is wrong, because in Pteris, the spore-bearing structures are the sorus. Sorus bears the spore, so sporocarp is not the one which is used in defining Pteris. Next is stem of Rhynia is protostelic. Again, it is true, because Rhynia has a stele which is like very, from the ancient times, it is the most primitive species, Rhynia genus, and Rhynia has a simple stele, and that simple stele is basically protostele. Right. So our answer is number C, which is not correct because it is called sorus and not sporocarp. Okay, next question. In Selaginella, the male gametophyte is A. holocarp, B. enclosed in a sporocarp, C. extremely reduced to a prothallel cell and antheridium, and large multicellular corded sheath. Selaginella male gametophyte is very small, and that's why we won't call it large, so the last option is getting cancelled. Next is that they are not holocarpic, because cells in the male gametophyte, they divide, and few specialized from them form some male gamete, mature male gamete. Next is enclosed in a sporocarp is again it's wrong. The third option, which is saying that extremely reduced to a prothallel cell and antheridium, is true, because the first division which happens in the male gametophyte produces a small prothallel cell and a large antheridial cell. That prothallel cell will not divide any further, and that the antheridial cell may divide later to produce two primary cells, so we get a 3-cell structure. So it's true that the male gametophyte is extremely reduced. So option number C is the correct one. Okay, here we have next question. In some pteridophytes, leaves are called microphyllous because A. are associated with the sporangia only. When we talk about the type of leaf, microphyll and megaphyll, we are not talking about the sporangia. We are basically talking about the leaf. So we are not concerned with option number A. Next is, they develop surae on the ventral surface. Again, we will just come over here and look at the microphyll leaf and the megaphyll leaf. What is the difference between them is that here microphyll is a very primitive character. They have no leaf gap, and just a single vein is present, which enters from the branches off from the stem and enters the leaf. But in megaphyll, we have seen that here is the leaf gap, and plus there are branching veins. So these are like advanced characters. So this is the difference between megaphyll and microphyll, the veins and the leaf gaps. So we will be concerned with that. So even option number B is not correct. Let's see option number C. Are traversed by a single unbranched midrib, and leaf traces do not leave any gap in the stem series. This is the correct definition. Basically they are saying that they have unbranched midrib, and second, they do not have leaf gap. So this is the exact definition of microphyll. Without going for option number D also, we can say that C is correct, but yeah, number D says that they have a branch midrib. So basically that is megaphyllous leaf character. Our answer is option number C. Next question. Which one of the following statement is not correct? Okay, first, roots are absent in Psilotum. It is true that Psilotum, which is a very primitive genus of pteridophyte, and they don't have roots, and they have creeping rhizomes which are used in anchoring. So this is correct, number 1. Next is, in Euquisitium, spores are spirally wrapped with the elyters. It is also true. Till now we have been reading this point quite some time. We can see that some genus, Equisitum, Selaginella, these are repeated. Yeah. Next is, in Selaginella, rhizophores arise from angle meristem located at the shoot branch points and produce roots at their distal ends. We can see in this diagram also, we have given a photo of Selaginella, where here at this branch point from the stem, there is this branch coming out which bears roots at this distal end. So this branch is basically called the rhizophore, and they are just formed somewhere from between, right? So these are the unique characters of Selaginella. Next is, Tilom theory describes the classification of fern. It's absolutely wrong, because Tilom theory, which is talking about how single microphyllous leaf, then megaphylous leaves came, and then how sporangia formed, then complex sporangia type, all that. So basically it talks about how land plants have evolved, or how sporophytes have evolved, not for classification of ferns. So this is the wrong answer, number 4. Next question, based on the figure below, mark the correct statement. So we have a diagram which has showing the monophyletic, paraphyletic and polyphyletic groups. We have to deduce from here. So here we have given some reference of phylogeny classification. We will see here. The monophyletic group is all this one, which includes an ancestor of all of its descendants here. So next, paraphyletic group includes the ancestor of and some but not all of his descendants here. And polyphyletic group includes 2 convergent descendants but not their common ancestors. Okay. Here also, if we are given a chart like this, we can mark that this is the one which is monophyletic. Then paraphyletic is here, the 2 branches which are separate, and then polyphyly is the ones here which do not have a common ancestor. Yes. So in this question, we will just mark these are the ones which are monophyletic, marked in pink, and Selaginella is the one which is paraphyletic to the others, and Magnolia and polyphyletic can be Magnolia and Selaginella. No, polyphyletic is not given here. So in the options, Selaginella is more closely related to Magnolia than to Dipteris. It's wrong, because first they are meeting over here. So more common, there's more closely related it is to Dipteris, and then it will going and separating to Magnolia. So it's not true that Selaginella is more closely related to Magnolia. So the first option is wrong. Selaginella, Pinus and Dipteris form a polyphyletic group. It's wrong, because here in this diagram we cannot show exactly what are the polyphyletic groups, because if there was one more over here, because these are paraphyletic. For polyphyletic, if here also if somebody else species was given, that we would have said. Next is Magnolia and Pinus. They form a paraphyletic group. Paraphyletic, not Magnolia and Pinus. They are very closely related. They do not form paraphyletic groups. Magnolia and Pinus are the ones forming a monophyletic group. Yeah, Magnolia and Pinus are the ones which are inside the monophyletic group and not paraphyletic. Yeah, so our option number 4 is the correct one. Next is 21. The question is the position of microsporangia in the male cone of Pinus is. This is a very specific question, and it is good to know also. Okay, fine. So we'll go through the options: adaxial or upper surface of the sporophyll, or on both sides of the sporophyll, on the tip of the sporophyll, or on the lower surface of the sporophyll. It's a unique character or a important character of Pinus. We can say that they don't have a tip sporophyll which is at the tip of their sporangia not at the tip of the sporophyll, but in actually they have it in the lower surface. So our answer will be number 4. It was a specific question. It's we have to just know this stuff. There are 2 microsporangia which are present side by side on the lower surface of each microsporophyll. So that is the point. Next question. In Pinus, the female gametophyte develops from either haploid megaspore, diploid megaspore. Megaspore can't be diploid because it's giving rise to a gametophytic generation. It has to be haploid. So diploid is not the right one. Next is haploid megaspore or haploid nucellus cells, not nucellus cells. That is in Neetum. So again, this is wrong. Or haploid megaspore mother cell. Whenever given an option between megaspore and megaspore mother cell, we know that there can be tetrads or any more number of megaspores, but the one which is the megaspore mother cell will give rise to the female gametophyte in future. So option number D is the correct one. Next is archegonia are absent in. So it is a very unique character of Neetum, we know. So we will just mark that. Next question. Which of the following species produces commercial edible seeds? Chilgoza. Okay, Chilgoza pine, which is very famous because these are Chilgoza nuts we have. These are edible. So these are formed from which Pinus species? It will be Pinus gerardiana and not Roxburghi, because Roxburghi produces chirpine. So it's a Pinus species, we know. So C and D will obviously get cancelled at the beginning only. So 24A is the correct one. Next is spores of heterosporous pteridophyte germinate to produce. Okay, so if they have already mentioned heterosporous, so they will give rise to microsporangia and from microsporangia and megasporangia will give rise to megaspores and microspores. So when they will germinate, they will produce dioecious prothallis, that is a separate micro for archegonium bearing thallus and a separate anthera producing thallus. So it will be dioecious. So option B will be the correct one. And last question is, which one of the following is a source of highly priced dry fruit? Chilgoza. Again, we have been seeing a repeat question over here. So here, but all the options are from Pinus, so it becomes a little bit difficult to understand from here. So we have to remember the common names of these pines. So we will just see them. Pinus gerardiana is the one which produces the Chilgoza dry fruit, so it is also called the Chilgoza pine. Pinus wallichiana is also called blue pine, because also you can say it Himalayan pine. It is found in Himalaya. And Pinus roxburghi is called the chur pine. Pinus khasiana is basically called the khasi pine. Here are some important questions for pteridophytes and gymnosperms. So we have seen that mainly they focus on some important species like Cycas pinus Neetum, and then you have to focus on their characteristics specifically. So that is important. And for pteridophyte, you need to know about the fossil types and also some current types, and then heterosporous is there. What is homosporous? What are different kind of sporangia characters and spores, especially of Equisetum. This Equisetum and Selaginella, they are important species and genus, so you have to know about that. Here we will stop the video. Thank you for watching.